Okay, this is a video. I can't get it out. This is a video about IRR, internal rate of return, and some bullshit that I have had to hear from my very wonderful participants in my classes. And this addresses an article in which a company named McKinsey said the IRR was so bad. Now, I agree that the IRR is really bad, and I'm going to explain how to fix it. But I just have to make this, and I'll probably make more than one. My students gave me this article. You can find it on my website, McKinsey Uses Cookies, or whatever. Internal rate of return, a cautionary tale. And in this article, they basically really go after the IRR and say how the NPV is better than the IRR, and what do they use? They say the cost of capital, and then they use the IRR, and they have a little simple example with -10 and +5 and an IRR of 41%, and try to show you that the IRR ranks the profitability of capital investments incorrectly. And then they say, here's what's better to use a modified IRR. And I'm going to show this is complete and utter bullshit and rubbish. It really is. And I'm going to show you how to really you need to fix the IRR. I agree with that. But you can fix it with what I'll make another gimmick. I'll call it the weighted average ROIC. How about WROI? Or how's that? That's a pretty good name, okay? And what I'm going to do, now let me go, I'm going back and forth to kind of my website. Here are the classic critiques, this multiple answer critique I've got to address a little bit later. And then you can make a modified IRR. Somebody who kind of stole my stuff even said, look at this. Despite the arguable superiority of the modified investment rate of return. Oh shit, I got a call. I'm leaving that out. I'm gonna make this video. It's the first one I've made in so long. So here's the way I'm starting, and I'm gonna explain what's really on this website, because you're not gonna read it. Nobody reads anything anymore. The IRR is just growth rate. If you have no middle period cash flows, if you take the IRR of this and that, you get 14.2%. I don't think I need to show you this. You put equal IRR. If you take this divided by that, raised to you count 1, 2, 3 minus 1 to the 1/2 power, you get 14.02. The IRR is the compound growth rate in your money if you have no middle year cash flows. The IRR gives you, and if you have some sort of private equity investment or leveraged buyout where you make an investment and use the money to pay off the bank and then get an investment later, no middle period cash flows, the IRR works. No dispute. Now, then I made kind of a crazy example to illustrate. And I said, look, if we have -100 plus an enormous 160, so right there, you understand that that's a 60% return. I hope you understand. If you put equal IRR -100, positive 160, you get 60% return. Then you get another 70 after that. So the IRR gives you 95%. We'll get to exactly what it's doing to get there in just a minute. I can't believe that I've not put this in a video before. Now, if you use a MIRR, what I do is you put MIRR, you select this area here. This is the D3 versus F3. See, I put D to F and number 3. You select that cash flow, and then I put the reinvestment rate in twice. The first one is if you had multiple negative cash flows, so you could almost leave that out. You could. And the second one, which is really used. So this says, well, the problem with the IRR, you get this enormous IRR of 95%, and it assumes this middle year gets reinvested at 95%. That's the classic problem with the IRR. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, and let's prove kind of what it works. Here's the IRR problem. You start with 100. You take this 160, and this 160, if you push it to the forward thing, oh no, I'm probably going to be interrupted in this video. Oh, shit. If you push this 160 forward, 160 times 1 plus the 95% gives you 313. And you put this to the last period. And then you take this 70 and just add it. You don't have to push this forward because you're not reinvesting the 70, and you get 383. And you take the 383 divided by the 100. Here it is. Take it to the 1/2 power minus 1. You got the IRR itself. You see, you needed the IRR to kind of make that intermediate calculation. That's why you have a little bit of circularity in the IRR. That's why you need this guess in the IRR, the little guess. Fine. Then here's how we do the MIRR. Sorry about that. Oh, people. Oh, shit. Okay. If we have a 160 and we only reinvest at 10%, well, 160 times 1 plus 10%, that pushes that 160 down to 176 in that second year, and we take the 70 plus the 176, and by reinvesting this in the middle period cash flow, we get 246. 246 divided by 100 raised to the 1/2 power right over here gives you the 58%. Now, I'm of course going to put this file on the website so you can practice it all. Okay? All right. Now, here is the first problem. You should be saying, and I doubt you are, you should be saying, what a lot of crap. What's going on here? What in the hell is going on here? I can take 100 and in one period I can get out of the investment. 160 divided by 100 is 1.6. Minus 1 raised to the 1 divided by 1 minus 1 is 60%. These two numbers alone give you 6%. Why is the MIRR giving you a lower number than what you could get out of if you just got out of the investment immediately? And I have a little bit of hard time kind of explaining the mathematics a little bit on this, because you'd think it couldn't be less than 60%, because then you get another 70 on top of that. Well, I will come up with a better example, method of this. Now I'm going to show you another method. And in this method, this is what I used to have, and I have a number of videos on this, and I'm going to actually show you the spreadsheet in just a minute on this one. So in this one, I have exactly the same kind of thing. We have 160 and 70. I've been looking at that now for a while. Now, if you have the 100 of investment that we made, okay, I can go up here to our 100 of investment, and if we just take a straight line depreciation, it wouldn't matter if it was accelerated, by the way. If we take a straight line depreciation, we'd have 50 and 50. We're just taking 100 divided by 2. Here it is. And that now our 160 and 170 minus 50 gives us EBIT of 110 and 20. Now, if you have no taxes, no interest, that's your net income. That's E, which is the same as EBIT. Now, if you start with this investment of 100, the beginning of the year investment is 100. You take away the 50 and you get 50 left. And you get down to 0 here. That's our investment balance. Okay, now we get a return on invested capital here of 110%, which is 110 divided by 100. I can even do that one in my head. And this one I could do even as well. 20 divided by 50 is 40%. That's our return on investment. Now, we could take an average return on investment, but that wouldn't be any good. Instead, we can take a weighted average investment where we weight this this investment balance, and we weight this by a PV factor. There's our 10% reinvestment rate. We weight that and we get a 90.1%. That's 1 divided by 10%. This is 1 divided by 10% squared. 1 plus 10% squared. You know what I'm doing over here. And so our investment, when we take the PV, is 90, and then it's only 41. And if we use these two, add these up, and take a weighted average, which is what we get 68% here, 31% here. So we put a 68% weight on the 110, 31 on the 40, and we get a weighted average of 83%. And I'm going to show you that weighted average IRR solves all the the problems. I didn't mean to swear. It solves the problems. Let me explain kind of that a little bit more. Let me see if I can find it in our little spreadsheet here. Okay, I'm going down. I need to relax here. And then you can see I'm very excited about this issue. Okay, right now I have a 11% weighting for some reason, which gives me a weighted average ROIC of 82.12. Now here's the trick. If over here, instead of my cost of capital being, I better put a 160 here back and a 70 here back here. By the way, this was Control-Alt-C. Now, I know a lot of you have Apples. Shit. And if you have Apples, this thing won't work quite well. I got to work on this. But that's what I use to get all the colors, okay? Just press Color Sheet. Generic macros has to be open. I'm sure that was a big question. You were all asking, how do I get the colors? All the 5 people who might watch this video. I wish you would do, because that IRR is a big deal in fixing this IRR. And this weighted average ROIC, I'm going to prove to you in about 2 or 3 other videos how this really does solve the problems. It really, really does solve all the... I'm arrogant now. I'm going to say all the problems. Now, if I make the cost of capital the same as the IRR, then look at this. Then the weighted average ROIC is exactly the same as the IRR. Again, you take the 170 minus the 50. Here's our 210. Here's our PV factor at 90%. Takes this second one and puts almost no weight against it. Here's our PV of our investment balance, and then we get a weighted ROIC. Now let's make a much more reasonable one. Let's say we have minus 100, and then how about 60 and 60, okay? Or 60 and 60. So now the return, the IRR is only 13%. Our MIRR is the same as our IRR because we're making a reinvestment at the same rate, but also our weighted average ROIC or weighted ROI or WROI is 13%. It's the same. It's the same. Now you can see that if right now the return on investment is higher in the second year just because the investment went down. Okay, so here's our kind of a depreciation on our investment. Our EBIT is the same, but our investment balance goes down, so our return is this. Now, if I would put a lot lower return, does this work? I hope. Let's say I put a 10% return. And that means we're earning more than our cost of capital. And if we're earning more than our cost of capital, instead of being, the IRR itself is 13.07, and we get a little bit of a higher weighted average ROIC. It goes up because we're putting more weight. It goes up. Because we're we're changing the weights. That was horrible. Oh my God! And let me see if I put If we're earning less than our cost of capital, then the weighted average ROIC goes down. I'm really sorry. I'll put in the little explanation for a video what's going on. Now this weighted average cost of capital will be the solution, because MIRR just gives you a lot of rubbish. It really does. Where's the MIRR? The MIRR, now when we put a higher cost of capital in, the MIR goes up. It looks like we're making a higher return. In this simple, stupid little example, it shows it. If you're earning less than your cost of capital, don't you think that your return should go down? This MIRR just doesn't do anything, and IRR does have problems. There's no question IRR does have problems, and this weighted average IRR will solve the issues. And I'm going to stop this video, but I'm going to make about 3 more. I really hope, if you're interested in any kind of IRRs that have any middle period cash flows, or you're interested in kind of the theory of all this stuff, that you will understand that this is a big deal. Coming up with a much better ROIC, whatever, IRR. That's enough of this video. Bye.